when somebody has a specific need for a piece of information, those people never think there's overload. They think there's not enough.
Now we have the great honor of catching up with David Meerman Scott, internationally acclaimed sales and marketing strategist and best-selling author. I've actually followed David's work for quite some time.
Thank you for that.
And I got to hear him on stage today, first time live. That was a treat.
Oh, thanks.
And get ready for some, I shouldn't say tough questions because you can handle anything.
Fire away, man. Fire
you know what?
Away.
I'm going to start with the trip to Antarctica that you tried to convince your wife. Maybe you could take the audience through it,
Sure.
because that will, of course, paint the picture at the world we live in and how someone has to market in 2016.
So I always wanted to go to Antarctica since I was 7 years old. And finally, I had enough money and enough time to be able to pull it off. And it's $20,000 to do. You know, it's not cheap to get your butt down to Antarctica. So I said to my wife, hey, let's go to Antarctica together. And she said, no, like flat out no. And so I have to try to convince her. And so I went on the web like we all do. Every one of us goes on the web, goes to Google.
And you showed us your process of the search.
I typed in Antarctic travel, Antarctic expedition, and I got a bunch of results. And all of the companies except for one were just trying to push for me to buy a ticket. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to gather information to try to convince my wife how cool this is going to be so she'll go with me. And I found one company that was doing a great job. They're called Quark Expeditions. And the reason they were doing a great job is because they were providing me with the content I needed at the precise point in the buying process that I was. First, gathering basic information. But then I needed specific information because she told me the reason she didn't want to go is because she didn't want to throw up crossing the Drake Passage, because it's the most notorious body of water to cross in the world. And so I now had a specific piece of information I was looking for. And so I actually connected on Twitter with the CEO of Quark Expeditions, with their social media people. I reached out to them through email, and they provided me links to a YouTube video about what it's like to cross the Drake Passage. They sent me a link to a blog post on their blog written by a doctor about what meds you could take to not get seasick. I mean, it's real specific stuff. A link to the ship so you could learn about what the ship was like. And finally, this took a couple months, but finally after a couple of months, my wife agreed to go with me. Yay, we're going to go, woohoo. And we had a fantastic time. It was just
I saw the selfies.
Eye-opening. And to the point now that she's bugging me about wanting to go back.
Wow. And I shouldn't say it all started. It all started with your vision to get there, but the vendor that you chose was because of content marketing.
It was because they had the best content, and because they were the most engaged with me, and also because they understood that I was in charge of the buying process. The other companies they wanted me to fill out forms so I could become a lead so that their salespeople could call me, but that's not going to work with me. Other companies didn't want to give away their best content. They just had superficial stuff up there. But Quark Expeditions, they figured out the way I buy, and then they fed me exactly what I needed at each point in the process.
Now here's an interesting question, because people of C-level executives turn to you from all around the world. How many would you say fit exactly your profile? Is it the majority or the minority? In terms of that, hey, they want answers immediately, and if you don't, and they want full content immediately.
I think most people understand now that they're in charge of the buying process. Everybody goes to Google or other search engines. Everybody on some electronic media asks their friend and colleagues for advice, or hey, I'm thinking about going to this particular place, or I'm thinking about buying a new car. Do you like yours? Whatever it is. We all do that. And so I don't think it matters what job function you have, what industry you're in. And I think that companies need to recognize now that buyers are in charge. And one of the most important aspects of that is that buyers need to buy on their time, not your time. What that means, I call it real time. So what that means is you can't control the process by saying, I'm going to give you information when I'm good and ready. Or you can't just do an email campaign on 3 weeks from Tuesday because that's the day you choose. Instead, you have to be very attuned to what's going on in the world, what's going on in the news, what is your buyer doing right now? Are they on your site? If so, where are they going? What are they doing? And that's how you can be successful.
But it's so eye-opening the way you pointed out. It's that now with social media, that's the venue they're turning to. But anyone who denies that users will turn to their friends only just go read Malcolm Gladwell's books or something like that. I mean, we're not changing the fact that we're human. It's just that now this new social technology makes it so much faster, quicker, cheaper, instant that we just turn to it. So even if there's still some people living under the rock that don't use social media, they're using the old connections, but everyone is turning to someone else for advice and perspective and counsel.
That's right, and we all go to the search engines. And what pops up on the search engines is the best content. And you can't really game the search engines. It is all content driven. And it makes me laugh that people resist the idea, but they themselves do it. What I mean by that is I'll have people who say to me, geez, David, when I go to buy something like a new set of golf clubs, I go to Google, I do this, I do that, and they're validating the fact that they themselves as a consumer use content to make decisions. And then in the next breath, they'll say, geez, we've got to do a direct mail campaign to try to get new customers. And then they'll go into their mailroom and they'll throw out all their direct mail that they get. And it's like, how can you be so crazy as to not recognize that we're in a new world right now? Because we are in a new world. We're in an incredibly new world, and it's a world that is revolutionarily different. I mean, it is so different from what it was even 5 or 10 years ago in terms of the way people buy products and services. And that means that if you want to be successful as a business person, or even if looking for a job, for example, you need to be the one that creates the best content.
Now, a short while ago during your presentation, your excellent presentation, I'll quote, if you are using the word innovative in your marketing, you are by definition not innovative, because the word is so overused.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of words like that.
Okay.
There's cutting edge, mission critical, best of breed, all of these words. My favorite one is innovative because I actually did an analysis of every press release sent in an entire year in the English language, and innovative was the number one most overused. Yet it's amazing how many companies use it, and you just walk around, even over here at the show we're at, or anywhere. You turn on television, and some inane product talks about how they're innovative. Our toilet paper is innovative. What are you talking about? The fact that you're using that word means that you're not going to be effective in the way you communicate. That and other words that are like that. So I think that you really need to understand who are the people you're trying to reach and what words and phrases do they use. Not just make up a word that you think is going to help you, because that's probably not going to work.
I saw one of your slides was, I think, Twitter Moments.
Yeah.
So you actually recommend that to get an idea, pulse?
I'm a big fan of understanding what's going on in the news, and then tying your brand to what's going on in the news.
Newsjacking.
I call it newsjacking.
I love it.
If you have an area of expertise about what's happening in the news. I call it newsjacking, and I got tons of information on newsjacking.com about it. So here's the way it works. I know you have entrepreneurs who listen to your show.
Yes.
Trent Silver is a 22-year-old entrepreneur, and he's got this cool business called Cash for Purses. What Cash for Purses does is they buy used handbags from people online, then they fix them up, and they either sell them on eBay or through physical boutiques, stores. Their biggest problem Trent has as an entrepreneur is getting more purses to be able to sell. So when he learned that Lindsay Lohan was having money troubles a couple of years ago, he realized, oh my gosh, I have a huge opportunity. So what he did was he offered to buy her used handbags, did a blog post, and then the media loved it because they were all talking about how Lindsay Lohan had money troubles, but now they had a different take on the same story. The take on that story is that, oh my gosh, she is somebody who could solve her money problems by selling her used handbags to this company. He ended up with 8,000 online inquiries. 12% of them closed for $250,000. And it cost him zero. The marketing for that cost him zero. So what I recommend that you do is that whatever area of expertise you have, follow the news. So that might be Google. I use personally Google News and Twitter Moments. And there's, I also look at a daily newspaper. Gosh, you could listen to 77 WABC, right? and what's going on, and then if there's a news story of something that I can contribute to, get your take into the news right away through a blog post, a YouTube video, a tweet with a hashtag, whatever it is, and then the media might pick you up and your customers might see it. So I'll give you an example of what I did just this week.
Sure.
So I'm a huge follower of the U.S. presidential elections.
Okay.
Just because I find it fascinating as a marketer to see what the different candidates are doing to market their candidacy. And never mind the politics part,
right,
or who I might vote for. It has nothing to do with it. It's all about the marketing aspects. And I found that Donald Trump, of all of the marketers, is the most real time. He's the one who's focused the most on commenting on what's going on a moment-by-moment basis. That's really interesting. So I blogged about it. And sure enough, the next day, I got an inquiry from an advertising magazine that wanted to interview me about a story they're doing about Donald Trump's marketing. So the reason I got that interview, and I'm going to end up in this magazine article, is because I blogged about something in real time, Donald Trump's use of Twitter, that I have an area of expertise around. And anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. And as an entrepreneur or business owner or somebody who's working in an organization or even someone looking for a new job, the idea of newsjacking, the idea of putting your content out there at the right moment is a great one.
How can a business generate attention in this content, in this web overload? Meaning, I understand everything you're saying till this point, but isn't there a degree of overload? How do you kind of fight the noise?
Well, I think that yes, there's tons of information, but when somebody has a specific need for a piece of information, those people never think there's overload. They think there's not enough. I'll take you back to a story I told earlier in our interview. I mentioned that I wanted to go to Antarctica. And when I was searching for information to convince my wife to go, I couldn't find it easily. And there was really only one company that helped me out, Quark Expeditions. And so for them, it wasn't overload. It was a different problem. The problem was, how can I understand enough about the people I'm trying to reach that I can create precisely the right content? So, it's just a matter of, rather than writing about your own products and services or doing videos about your own products or services, think about what are the problems that my buyers face, what are the challenges of the people who might want to buy my product or service, what are the words and phrases they use, and then you say, okay, so the more I understand about the people I'm trying to reach, the better content I can create, and the more likely I am then to get found when people are looking for me.
Any final thoughts for the listeners of Mind Your Business on 77 WABC?
Well, we've been talking about marketing on the web. I think this is so much fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been a marketer for 30 years. And I started when I was marketing my lawn cutting services as a teenager. So that's how far back I go as a marketer.
Okay.
And it was always a drag. You had to make brochures, you had to do this, you had to do that press releases, all these things that were difficult and boring. But putting stuff out on the web, newsjacking, creating videos, this is fun. So marketing can be really fun. And if you understand the people you're trying to reach really well, and you can reach them, my gosh, you can grow your business as a result.
77 WABC Radio presents Mind Your Business, hosted by founder and president of Bottom Line Marketing Group, Yitzhak Saftlas. Mind Your Business focuses on business and marketing strategies for success.